As per the Walcha Council Code of Meeting Practice, section 15.25, councillors, council staff and members of the public must ensure that mobile phones are turned to silent during meetings of the council and committees of council. The ordinary, extraordinary and committee open meetings of council will be recorded for community transparency and minute-taking purposes. The recording is publicly available on council's website. Persons attending the meeting should refrain from making any defamatory statements. We acknowledge the Dungutty people as the traditional owners of the land we meet on. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. We acknowledge and recognise their continuing connection to the land, water and community of which we are part. Today, we have no leaves of absence or request for audio-visual attendance. We do have one public forum, Miss Annie Young from Walcha High Country Guardians, speaking on the closed section of offer from Energy Co for funds. Anna, if you would come around and take a microphone, please, and feel free to start when you're ready.
Good to go? Okay. First of all, obviously, I want to say thank you from the Walcha High Country Guardians for all the support that our council has given to date in regards to the opposition to the forced acquisition of farming land for the transmission lines. We do really appreciate the Merrill Minute that was passed, and we do really appreciate the other support that's been given. In regards to the closed section, talking to Energy Co from our council and negotiating about the funds that they're offering, our position is really clear. Our preference is no negotiations with Energy Co and for no money to exchange hands. We say this because we believe it weakens our position as a group of affected farmers, hundreds of farmers in opposition to this forced acquisition of land. As soon as our council start taking this money, it allows Energy Co to hold the position that Minister Sharp recently held in Parliament when she said that opposition was nuanced. It is not nuanced, it is clear, it is opposition. This could also be a liability. We want you to consider the money that Energy Co offered for the previous position, where you were agreed to be given $250,000 and our council only received $110,000 of that monies. So please consider, if our council was to take $1 million and spend that $1 million, where does the liability land if they refuse to pay some of those funds? We also think our politicians that we speak to regularly are saying hold a no stance. It is important for councils to be firm. You will have opportunities in the future to take the exact same funds should they force this on our town. And finally, we think this is the cart before the horse. It's premature. You haven't had a chance yet to learn from the mistakes of the Central West. Their councils were not in full opposition when it all first happened. They are very much in opposition now, and so are their people. Please learn from them. So please go and visit the Central West before you agree to take this money. If the council do not support the Walcha High Country Guardians and your constituents in this town and say no to this money from Energy Co, and you go down the route of taking this money to do research or other things that they say you're allowed to do, we hold really firmly that we would like the council to say there are no non-disclosure agreements, there are no confidentiality agreements. This money, if exchanging hands, should absolutely be transparent. You as a council should still be able to say, we are taking this money to do research. However, we hold our position firmly from our Merrill Minute that has already been passed that we are opposed to these transmission lines. As soon as they start putting those NDAs on it or confidentiality agreements, our council is effectively taking what your constituents see as bribery money. It looks like what private developers are doing in terms of wind farms and things, and this is not that. This is a government-run forced acquisition of prime agricultural land. So as I said, very much we believe we want you to hold the Merrill Minute firmly. We would like our council to say no at this point and support Walcha High Country Guardians because we are making a lot of headway, and we would like to hold a really firm position. That is what the politicians are telling us to keep doing. You will have an opportunity if we get railroaded in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Does any councillor have a question of Anna? If not, I think if you're present. Oh, sorry, Mary. Councillor Pointing.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Anna, for that. I mean, you seem really confident that, you know, if we don't say yes to the money or if there is money coming, that there's going to be a guarantee that we're going to get it later. How do you actually know that that we'll be guaranteed that money later?
So we're very much regularly in contact with both the upper and the lower house politicians. This is government run programs. So you're looking at, they have underwriting, they have things that say they have to provide funding for certain things and certain amounts. So no matter what, if you take that money now, you're not getting a better deal than if you take it in the future, because the government has policies and procedures they have to adhere to. And so all of the politicians are saying, if anything, you have a better negotiating power if our council is in opposition and they do say, no, we're going to go ahead. They're going to keep trying to sweeten the deal as much as they can within the confines of what a government can offer. It's not going to be as much as what a private business will do in terms of negotiations, but remember that they're confined by policy. And so there is nothing that will stop them from giving you that money later on. This is advice we've been given from above.
I mean, is that only verbal advice, or do you have written confirmation?
I can get it in writing if you'd like us to try and get it in writing. Again, that's why these decisions shouldn't be rushed, because that is something our council should probably also have in writing from above before a decision is made. Equally so, you should have from Energy Co far more information before anything is decided about negotiating with them for $1 or $2 million when our town is, if these transmission lines go through, the impacts are multi-millions, if not billions, for consumers.
And sorry, I guess on the other hand is, like in council, this has actually put a lot of stress on our finances and resources. And for us to fund that, that is the other consideration here with, if we do get any funding from Energy Co for that, I would be considering as a councillor.
And so I think that I understand the council's position that you need to fund some studies. The thing is, Energy Co has actually provided the studies that show how much damage this is going to do through the RES studies, the cumulative impact studies already. And so I would want you to think really hard and long today about what you would be using that money for, and is it of a greater benefit than the potential cost that these lines will have to all of your constituents. And so if you truly believe as a council that money, that few $100,000 million will give you the studies under the confines of what they're even telling you you're allowed to use the money for, because again, we've got to be careful, because in the past, that's why you didn't get the whole funding for that 250,000 back. So if you're able to use it for what you want to use it for, is that a good enough benefit compared to the cost to your people? And our position is, for the hundreds of affected farmers that this government is trying to force these lines on, our position is very much it's not a good enough reason at the moment to negotiate. I understand if the council continues to regularly assess this, but right now, in this minute, is it a good enough reason?
Is there any other questions? If not, thank you, Anna. Thanks for your time and presenting to council. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I am going to do the bus run.
The second order of business today is the confirmation of previous minutes. Can I have a move that they be adopted, please?
There is an error in the minutes. Do I raise that now? Or
Yes.
is this arising? So it was the closed council. Sorry, I don't have it open yet, but it was the last item, the vote for the whether we bought the accommodation for the aged care. The vote wasn't unanimous. I, for one, voted against it, and I think there were other councillors who did as well.
Oh, sorry. Yes, just General Manager just pointed out that's in closed council.
Raise it in closed council.
Sorry, my mistake. I wasn't concentrating. So I need a confirmation of the previous minutes.
Can I just raise an issue before you proceed, Mr Mayor?
Councillor McCoy.
On page, I find it here, bottom of page 11, I think it is. No, sorry, take it back. Bottom of page 9, where there was a point of order raised regarding the inclusion of some documents that were provided with the report on the review of the motorcycle rally. The amendment that's been recorded there bears little resemblance to the actual motion that was originally moved by Councillor O'Brien. So it seems to me that it's actually missing something, because the amendment basically says removing attachments 3 and 4. It doesn't go on to say, well, what are we going to do about the rest of the report? So I just feel that there needs to be some clarification as to the fact that the amendment was to remove attachments 3 and 4 and then deal with the matter in open council.
Is that just inferred?
Through you, Mr Mayor, just to assist the meeting, I think the remedy lies in a statement below Councillor O'Brien's motion, which would be that the motion lapsed for want of a seconder. And then the amendment comes in and is approved. The 2 attachments then are put into closed committee, and the item is then discussed and ultimately resolved by the council.
Mr Mayor, I mean, that's probably one way of doing it, or something. Yeah, okay. That satisfies the link between what the original motion was all about. Yeah. So that's fine.
It's normally, through you, Mr Mayor, that when a motion lapses for want of a seconder, so that the reader of minutes can see the evolution of the debate, that is included. And then you know that motion is unsuccessful and you move on to the amendment.
Okay, and the second point, which is following on from Councillor Gregg, I don't necessarily agree that because these minutes, the closed meeting, are actually contained in the minutes that we have in front of us, why we can't address the fact that these minutes are wrong in open council. It's not as if we're discussing the issue. Our names are listed against the motion, and the way I read it, if we adopt these minutes, then the minutes from the closed meeting are also adopted, and we have no further chance to correct them. So could I please get some sort of clarification? As I said, I don't believe that's the correct ruling. And while we're clarifying that, the other thing too, which is wrong with the minute 3.1, is it doesn't make sense because it refers to subsequent ranked items, which there are no subsequent ranked items as part of the resolution. So again, the resolution doesn't match what's stated in the resolution doesn't match what's actually happened.
Yes. Sorry, Mr Mayor, I naturally thought the closed item of minutes were contained in the closed council, but I overlooked the fact that the Mayor had said the recommendation or the resolution should be put into open. So it would be appropriate for, my apologies for Councillor Gregg's concern regarding accuracy of minutes to be resolved in public.
So, Councillor Gregg, you voted against item 3.1?
That's right.
Okay.
I think there may have been other councillors as well, but I'll leave that to them.
I too voted against that recommendation. So. I think I was also against that, I'm pretty sure, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, do we clear up the other one, Councillor McCoy? Are you happy with the outcome of?
Sorry, going back to the one regarding the point of order being debated. Is that what you're referring to? Okay, well, I mean, as I've said, the actual recorded resolution no longer makes any sense because there's no subsequent ranked items. So there's no way we can, if the first option is not approved, the subsequent ranked item will then be sought in the following order of preference. Well, you can't have a following order of preference because there's no other items. So the resolution doesn't make sense.
I see what you mean.
Therefore, if we include the orders, if we include the other three in the order of preference in these meeting minutes, would that be?
Well, I don't remember us actually agreeing to the other three. That's the problem I've got.
That's for the recommendation.
I think Councillor McCoy's point is that we did not rank them. We only voted for one.
We only voted, from my memory, we only voted for one option and we didn't then look at the other three options and put them in any form of ranking. So we haven't got a ranked order.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that would be my recollection. I think what's happened here is there's been a staff recommendation that has been just incorporated into motion. But my recollection was the debate was just a single preferred option with no other rankings thereafter. Because the issue for the council is making sure that the minutes accurately represent the voting and the motion of the councillors. And I think what's happened here is that there's been a staff recommendation that has been incorporated in the minutes in totality when most likely a review of the debate on record would reveal that there was only one preferred option. So I think the way forward would be to end the resolution after preferred option. No, sorry, following to amend the scope of it and proceed with approval of the following following option. Full stop. And after, in preference, knowing that the preferred option is not approved, delete.
Happy with that, Councillor McCoy?
Yep. That's perfect.
Okay, Councillor Gregg, that fixes your amendment up to the minutes.
Yes, thank you.
Is there any other questions in relation to the minutes? If not, I'll ask for removal of those minutes, please. Moved Councillor Ulrich, seconded Councillor Gregg. All those in favour? That being unanimous. Is there any business arising from those minutes?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Just regarding the self-serve health station, the funding that was thought to be available to provide that station turns out is no longer available. So unfortunately, that's on the back burner at the moment. There was another option I thought I may have had that I spoke to you privately about, which also fell by the wayside. But so we need to be on the lookout for possible grants to install one of these self-serve health stations. Just a bit of feedback from the suppliers. They're about $7,000 to have for a month, or $27,000 to have for the full year. And there's a bit of transport, about $2,500. So we're going to keep their eyes and ears open for maybe some grant opportunities. Thank you.
What was the approximate cost again, Councillor Thompson?
They're only higher charges.
Oh, yeah.
You don't buy them, but they're sort of $7,000 for 1 month or $27,000 for a year. That's what she
So I did see,
quoted.
I think, Essential Energy, someone did some grants out a while ago. See what they were. Any other business arising? If not, we will move on to any declarations of interest in any business in council today? None received. No mayoral minute this month. Walcha Capital Review Committee minutes. No capital review. I need a resolution to receive the senior officers' reports, please. Councillor Pointing. Seconded Councillor Euston. All those in favour? Item 7.1, Cash and Investments Finance Report. We'll hand over to the Senior Finance Officer.
Sorry? Oh, just get mine.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to recommend that my report be removed unless there's any questions.
There are no questions,
Thank you.
no highlights, or any? Councillor McCoy?
Yeah, I'll ask a question since no one else wants to. I'm concerned about the 4.2 million due to works completed, but monies have not yet been received. We seem to have this report month after month, and there seems to be a lot of money outstanding. And the question is, can we do anything to expedite these payments? Because it must be costing council a fair bit of money, having all this money sitting somewhere else that we've obviously paid out on works, apart from the fact that, you know, we could have the money and be earning interest on it rather than someone else.
Yes, Mr McCoy, Councillor McCoy, I have been chasing the people that are responsible for producing the reports, and it's just been a resourcing issue from their side at this stage, is what they're telling me. So I have given them till Monday to get their claims in, unfortunately.
Can I just make a point on that
Yep.
too? Both Uralla and Inverell and Glen Innes councils are having very much the same problem from the snowstorm grant and the grant that the windstorm went through, both Guida, Inverell and Uralla. They are having massive trouble getting theirs back to. Not that that's an excuse, I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I mean, that's outside our control. It's probably the fact that what control we have over what we're doing to expedite the payments that we should be getting. So I just feel that they need to be given a higher priority than maybe they're receiving at the moment.
Thank you, Councillor McCoy. Any other questions? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Catherine, for putting this together. I just have a question regarding the non-refundable or the refundable accommodation deposits. I know there have been previous discussions about not including that in our unrestricted cash reconciliation and sort of separating that out so we can make comparisons to previous years. Is there any more thought being put to that? And yeah, how does our position then reflect if you take out the unrestricted cash? The aged care refundable accommodation deposits, because we've got basically 5 million there that's skewing it.
It's skewing it in the fact that it is a restriction, and there are the act that covers those bonds is very strict about what we can use it for. So therefore, it is restricted cash, can't be used just for anything. And yes, if we put it to one side, you'd still have this figure that is then would overstate the cash available to council. So we do need to keep it recorded very clearly.
Yeah, look, I understand that. It's just we've seemed to have wrapped a lot of the, I guess, the accounts of Riverview into General Council's order of business. And it's hard to sort of look in the past and go, how's our financial position looking now that we've got Riverview sort of mixed in amongst it? I guess that's probably a bit of clarity there, and having Riverview stand here and having council stand here separated, so it's easy for us to all look at and work out if we're on downward or upward trends.
Certainly, Councillor O'Brien. I'll take that on notice to try and improve that reporting into the future. It is a bit tricky at the moment out of the system, getting it all sorted separately. Everything is just in one bucket in our funds as well. Yeah.
I think once once we've had that in there a year, too, it'll tend to even out a bit because it's the first year where we really noticed that, well, all of a sudden we had a $4 million increase in our bottom line, which, as it moves on, that'll probably just melt in and make it easier. I do agree it was very confusing for a while. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Thompson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Question for the Finance Manager through you, Mr General Manager. I was curious, with our investment portfolio, worked out it makes about $700,000 a year, roughly, or $2,000 a day. Where does that money come into the cash? At an average 4.27% term. Or does it come into revenue?
So yes, councillor, it comes through into revenue as an interest line. You just don't see it coming in these reports, but it will, in your financial statements, it does come through as interest very clearly, and then it is used within council operations where it is unrestricted on the balances for unrestricted monies, and then money that it is restricted for has to go across to the appropriate area. So some of those accommodation bonds do attract a little bit of interest, so there is interest put on those, which is not available to us at this point.
Any other questions? Can I just ask a quick question in relation to our investments too? And I know this is a time thing, but we are supposed to, on a regular basis, I think, reassess our portfolio and where it's invested. And as I said, I know there's no time for that at the moment, but when we get a new director, maybe we can do that. I think it's part of our duty or of care or whatever the saying is for looking after those investments.
Yes, Mr Mayor, you're correct that we do have that. Currently, the investment policy is under review. I have sent it to ARIC for review. They had no questions, but I've since realised I need to update a bit more for Riverview for the aged care. So I will have to take it back to ARIC for their review, and then it'll come to council. And as part of that, you should get an annual overview of your policy as to where it's all going, with your investments as well. Yes.
And just another question, I can't remember which councillor asked the question about it was Councillor Thompson about interest. The interest on the RADs, which, where does that go into? Like if you're drawing interest on the $4.9 million of RADs, where is that deposited when it comes in? It wouldn't be in with the rest of the interest for council, would it?
It's allocated, no, back to the RADs. So it increases that balance in the RADs.
Okay, thank you. Councillor O'Brien, did you have another question?
You stole the question from Mr Mayor.
I'm a mind reader these days. Yes, Councillor Gregg.
So just following on from that, if it goes back into the RADs, that means it's restricted, doesn't it? Is that right?
Correct. Yes, you are correct.
So why? Like, to me, that's money that we should be able to spend, whether it's Riverview or, why?
Yeah. So part of that, Councillor Gregg, is that some of the RADs is receiving interest, not all of it, and that is because there is, again, requirements for RADs that are due to be paid out for people that have left the facility that we're still waiting on instructions. So those RADs actually increase, so we can't touch those based on that. But the other interest that is applicable to the aged care facility is actually made available in the actual income to the aged care. And that is reported in the monthly reporting.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'll ask for a mover of that recommendation, please. Would that be adopted? Councillor O'Brien, seconded. Councillor Pointing, all those in favour? Thank you, Finance Manager. Good report, and thanks for answering the questions. Item 7.2, Community Grants Donations Allocation Round 2. Page 7.2, General Manager. Any highlights on this? I think this is probably, if we're interested in just moving on, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Is that okay if we just keep moving?
Yep.
Is there any questions in relation to those two grants?
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
O'Brien?
I've got a question and it's actually to do with the first one there, the Polo Cross and John Oxley. As a person that does a lot of the bin collection for a lot of the events around, we always have the issue of these, I guess, sponsored events and taking the rubbish from the showground to the tip. And I note that some of these events have applied for tip concession fees and some of them haven't. A question, I guess, for the General Manager, is there any way that we can, I guess, look at that across the board rather than just individuals? Because, yeah, it's always a bit of a grey area and we usually have a truckload of rubbish from each of these events.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we can look at that. The trick will be closely and tightly defining the potential beneficiaries, because my experience of waste is that you give a concession and people will jump at it. So as long as we can confine it to those community events, and in doing so calculate what the likely impact is in terms of financial waiving, that's fine.
Perfect. Yeah, usually it's about one tip a load per event, but I guess, as you say, it's got to be, you know, which charitable events, if it's the War Mats or these other ones. But yeah, I don't know. It might be a nice gesture to some of those communities to waive those tip fees for the events.
Is there any other questions in relation to that? Councillor Gregg?
The Polo Cross tournament, it says it's a not-for-profit organisation, but does the actual tournament make money? Like, do they make a profit from the day? Is this something that they could cover with their own profits?
It said in the application they were not for profit, so I don't believe that they would have much profit from it at all. It'd be just to put it on the following year or whatever. It would be just basic.
When they say not for profit, they could be donating money to.
They could be. I don't.
So we don't know the financials. Okay.
No, they weren't.
Any other questions in relation to those two applications? Councillor Euston?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, probably to the General Manager. So there is 6,906 remaining, and then I assume that 908 comes out of that, which gives us just under $6,000. If that's not used, does that roll into next year or does that expire?
Through General Manager, I think that would be more of a finance question.
Can I just make a point of my comment? This is normally the applications exceed what there is there. So this is the first year we've really been caught in this situation, and in a lot of ways I struggle with this whole program, but you know, for reasons. But I guess that's something council laws normally there is no carryovers with these. Council does not take carryovers unless they're restricted. So I would think that they wouldn't be, because that's where we ran into trouble with the Arts Council. Their money wasn't restricted and it was never carried over. That's why it's restricted now. So my assumption is that it wouldn't be carried over.
Can we get an answer on that for next meeting, please?
I guess that can come in as part of the budgeting process. Is that okay?
Can I just say something, please, Mr. Mayor? So we've already probably got 2 applications for next financial year that we just said, you know, you can't apply for it this financial year. It has to be because it's being held next financial year. So we're already into that. And, you know, there might be more applicants next financial year because of that.
Any other? Councillor Gregg, I think you
I
were.
just want to make a quick comment, just I guess as to how I'm thinking about it, but I think they're a great club, but I think this is ratepayer money, and if they can afford to pay those costs, I don't think we should spend the money just because it's there. It is ratepayer money.
So we have a recommendation there on, if I go back, I think. Oh, it's for our determination. So I need a motion. Councillor. Both. Yes?
Do we know how much power council uses? Like it says for the Nowen Dock Hall that council uses the hall and that council uses power and water. So do we know what the cost would be for that?
Through you, Mayor and General Manager. No, we weren't apprised of it. Well, they didn't advise of it. However, we received a grant to rebuild the toilets out there and put a new tank on and a pump, which is for the hall, and that fills the toilets as well. So it's a bit of both area, and they usually apply for $500 a year. So I think $200 is probably reasonable to help offset their electricity bill. But 500 was usually just for the hall for operational costs because they're a small community, and other halls usually apply as well. But this is the only one this year.
Councillor Houston.
Sorry, I just have one other question through you, Mr Mayor. What is determined as a financial year for this funding? Are we calendar or are we just standard financial year? Thank you. Gotcha.
Councillor Ulrich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that council support both applications.
Thank you, Councillor Ulrich. Have a motion there. Do I have a seconder for it? Councillor Houston. Councillor Ulrich, do you wish to speak to it?
No, thank you.
Councillor Houston, do you wish to speak to it?
I think more community organisations should apply for this in the future.
Do I have a councillor wish to speak against it or ask a question? Any other councillor wish to speak for it? I will therefore put to the vote all those in favour, that being unanimous. Move on to item 7.3, Capital Programs Update, Director of Infrastructure and Development. I'll hand over to the Director to any highlights or anything first if we could, and then.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's fairly self-explanatory at this stage. I'm happy to take, sorry. Rookie error. I'll start again. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, self-explanatory, really talking about the off-creek storage, the water treatment plant and wastewater treatment plants. If there's any comments or questions, I have Mr Powell here with me to take more detailed questions. We also have reports on the skate park, which is pretty much approaching completion now. The swimming pool, which we managed to open last month, and from my observations has been an outstanding success in terms of usage. I can probably just touch on that pool will be open through the school holidays and up through to including Anzac Day and the Monday, with a view to then closing it probably on the Tuesday, I think, to enable us to then finish the works that need to be done and meet the grant deadline. So that's going very well. Winterbourne Bridges and Moorback Bridge, we're in the process of defects inspection and getting the contractor to finish off areas that we've picked up that are not quite as we would expect. And then from a roadworks point of view, pretty good news really, on track with Pindari Tops. Brackendale works pretty much complete and ready to close out. Gravel resheeting on programme. We've reinstated the Facebook forward notification of roadworks now. That should have gone out earlier this week, or been posted earlier this week. So trying to improve the communication so that residents and others can see where we're focusing our attention the next 2 or 3 months, and we'll continue that on a rolling basis going forward.
Thank you. To the Director, any questions in relation to any of those projects? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you. Through you, Mr General Manager, to the Director of Infrastructure. Just in regards to Pindari Tops, it's been probably a week, maybe 2 weeks since I've driven past that. And it's been a while since I've seen the drawings, but the completed scope out there, I've seen this, it's almost complete, but it looks far from complete out there. Still looks like there's quite a bit of fill to go in there, levelling and seal to go on that, along with some furniture, I think, that was earmarked to be installed there for tourists to pull over in the when the snow was on and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just sort of surprised to see. I know the last update we had that it had been put on hold, And now when this report's come through is that we basically spent all the money on that one.
Yeah, thank you, councillor. Through Mr Mayor, I drove past there the other day myself with the roads manager, and yes, it's still got barriers up and what have you on that area. I can take that question on notice if that's all right, councillor, and respond back to you in due course. Yeah.
Any other questions? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Question for the Director of Infrastructure. The wastewater treatment plant, inflow infiltration remediation, is that the sand filters that we're talking about? Is that the same? Have we got funding to do the work down there on the filters? Is that what that money is for?
Through you, Mr Mayor, can I call on Mr Powell just to give him a bit more information on that, please, Rob?
Message to Councillor Thompson. That is actually for the infiltration into our sewer network. That's our manholes and our pipelines that need rehabilitation, because when we get a big rain event, it kind of over capacity on our sewer pump station in town.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Powell.
Councillor McCoy.
I could have grabbed him while he was at the microphone. Another question through you, Mr Mayor, to the Director of, and then on to our manager. The SCADA upgrade, I noticed that it's meeting and design planning is in progress, but then I also noticed that we've spent $60,000 already. I was just wondering, that's a fairly expensive meeting. So I was just wondering where that money is being spent.
Thank you, councillor. Through you, Mr Mayor, if I can call on Mr Powell to give a bit more information, please.
Yes, Councillor McCoy. So that spending is for the whole scope of the works. So that was the engagement I got requested to put in. That encompasses the tender, the design, the FDS into that to go out to tender to purchase.
So in other words, it's a committed cost for all the design work that's to be done. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr Powell.
Any other questions? Councillor McCoy again.
Yes, sorry. Swimming pool. Well, firstly, I'll say no. I'll begin by saying thank you for the report. It's a much better way of reading the report about capital works and having a spreadsheet with lots of pretty lines on it. So I think it's a much better improvement in terms of reporting on our project. So thank you to whoever's come up with that idea. There's a couple of improvements I'd like to see happen, and I guess firstly, there's no indication, and it'd be nice to see things like dates and schedules and so forth. If you could add an extra couple of lines saying, well, you know, this is underway or it's estimated completion on such and such a date, I think that would be a handy thing to have. And any information about the grant that's actually funding the work that's being done, whether there's any restrictions or time frames on the grant and what grant is being used. So just a couple of suggestions, but in terms of questions, the skate park, upgrading of the seating facilities, I'm a bit disappointed, I suppose, that the standard of the last shelter that's been built down there. We have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars doing the skate park up and got two very high-end shade shelters, tables and chairs, and now we're building something that looks very much like a low-end shelter, which doesn't really fit in with the standard of construction and improvements that we're provided down there. So I don't know how that's come about and what decision and what reasons there are for it, but I'd just like to make comment that I'm not overly impressed with the standard of what's being done down there from that point of view. My other question or comment or question, I suppose this one is on the swimming pool. There's $143,835 worth of difference between what was spent. I was just wondering what's happening with the $143,000 surplus that we're going to have left over. Is that to be spent on other things? Because I noticed that the contractor is required to complete the ramp rails, trash screens, minor coating, etc., etc. So I assume that work is still under his existing contract, that he'll be coming back to do that work. So therefore, I assume that the $143,000 will be surplus. If that's probably one question I'll leave now, and I'll go with another one later, so if that could be answered. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that question, Councillor. I'll just touch on the funding. So I mentioned earlier that we opened the pool in February to try and give as much usage for the public as possible while the weather was still suitable. We did defer some less critical work, shall we say, until we're saying now probably the end of April when we go through there. So we're discussing with the grant authority at the moment the budget that's going to be required to complete those works. My estimation is we're going to be pretty much breaking even. One of the changes we're negotiating with the grant authority at the moment is to take out of this year's or this grant cycle due to make sure we meet the budget is the chemical dosing that was already in the grant. The system we got in operation at the moment is adequate. So if we were to try and deliver the chemical dosing within this grant period, we probably wouldn't meet the grant deadline, the end of June, firstly. And secondly, we would actually exceed the budget that's available in the grant. So I've taken the decision to take the chemical dosing out of that. So the money you're looking at there will in some respect reflect that removal of the chemical dosing from the budget.
Can I just ask a follow-up question to that? Is that chemical dosing antiquated, for want of a better word, or is it giving problems? I heard the other day there was a problem at the pool with the chemical dosing system. And I guess what I'm getting at here is if we're going to hand money back, are we better off to come to council and ask for a little bit more money to put in a decent chemical dosing system, or am I misreading this?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor. So I'll just touch on the final piece. I don't think there's enough time left now in the financial year in the grant deadline to complete the works, even if we wanted to. So what the intention is to come back to council in the new financial year or during the budget process to put the chemical dosing project into next year's basically financial plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other councillors? Councillor McCoy.
One last question. Brackendale Tops Road repairs, works complete, project near closeout. So we've got $250,000 and $518, $250,518.34, which we still haven't spent. So what's going to happen with that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor, for that question. I think I'll have to take that on notice and we'll come back with a considered plan to actually address that investment.
I guess that begs the question, if we were going to do a job there worth $750,000 because the road was so bad, how did we do it for $500,000? Are we, this comes back to the thing again, have we, I think running over budget's as bad as running under a budget, if you see what I'm getting at. What did we not do there that we scoped to do? And I guess that can be part of that answer too, if that's possible, please. Councillor O'Brien.
Mayor, I have just a further question carrying on from Councillor McCoy. Just with the contractual side of the swimming pool, were we in a position to finalise practical completion with the subcontractors on that job and issue certificates for that and enter into a defects liability period? And if we have any recourse at all through that next 12 months in case we have any repairs that we need to do. Just from experience, we've had a couple of projects on council where we haven't managed that well and council have borne the cost of defects. If you could talk to that, that'd be great.
Thank you, Councillor, through you, Mr. Mayor. So the contract that was used, which is MW21, doesn't have a specific defects liability period as a term. It has more of what's called a project completion. And the project is not yet complete. As I say, there's still works going to be carried out until the end of June. So I'm anticipating that the project completion date will be the end of June. And from that point onwards, we have effectively 12 months in a similar term to defects liability, but it's under the MW21 clauses. So we will have 12 months after that, end of June this year, to come up with any.
But no money is retained from our subcontractors for that defects?
There's a very minimal retention at the moment for that.
Okay.
Yeah. And
do we have any understanding if there could be any risks associated with defects?
Not at the moment. There's one issue we're working through in terms of some pipe work, but there's, generally the quality that I'm seeing there has been pretty good. But we will, once we've emptied the pool after Anzac Day, we will go through and we'll do an inspection of the works, and we can get in behind the pool walls. So there's effectively an area around the pool under the slab. So we'll be able to go in there and give it a good inspection to see if there's been any issues when we do that. But we need to empty the pool really at the end of April, and then we'll go in and do almost like a baseline to say this is where we are at the end of effectively the end of June for the 12-month period to start.
Thank you.
Councillor McCoy.
I'll just jump forward to questions on those. I guess your answer through you, Mr. General Manager, to my question on those regarding the defects liability period for Memorial Pool, I guess that's the answer you've just given, is that there is a 12-month period following conclusions.
That's correct, Councillor. Yeah.
Okay. Whilst I'm talking about defects liability periods, can someone take a look at Derby Street South? It is failing in the northbound lane out of Wheelpath, so hopefully there's a defect liability period on the contractor that did that work.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. If I could talk to you after this and get the exact location, please, Councillor. We'll look at that.
I would just further to that, I would say the whole alignment needs to be thoroughly checked, and I think the General Manager has responded potentially on that there needs to be a proper closeout inspection done with that. Some issues seem to be becoming apparent.
Any other questions? If there's not, I know the pool's taken a while to get going, but I've heard nothing but positive comments about the pool now, the walkway in, and that I think that, we look at the positive of it, and it's been a great outcome for council, that pool, and next year, it'll be so good as, the pool, my wife's been swimming and she says the water's warm. It's working really well. So I think that's a great outcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could just come back and just pay tribute to the council staff who were leading that. Mr. Powell and Priscilla Rizal fundamentally were really behind that and driving it. So that's who we need to thank.
That's good. Can I have a move of the council note that report, please? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Euston. All those in favour? Being unanimous. Item 7.4, council resolution action list. We just worked through this from the first page. I guess the question is there any from any of the directors or general manager, any standout problems there? I mean, we've got a lot of planning ones that are still very slow going for reasons. But any problems with anything that should be happening there? Or any questions from councillors about where it's up to?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Ulrich.
Just on page 62 of the report. It was noted at the last council meeting that in regards to the Walcha Road War Memorial access, that council staff to advise the council at the March 2025 ordinary meeting, the funding source of the council's contribution of up to $13,000 to this project. Did we get that sorted or not? Do we know?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I might defer to our Senior Finance Manager. Certainly we had a conversation. I'm not so sure that we actually unlocked the actual source, but Catherine, have you got something to report?
Thanks, Councillor, through the General Manager and the Mayor. I have actually been able to locate where we can find that money from. There is some savings being held in. Council had put contributions towards those two bridges, and Council's contribution is no longer required, and that will more than cover your 13,000.
Thank you very much. I'd also just like to update everybody that the construction of that project commenced yesterday. And the Director of Infrastructure has been out there today to inspect, and he was there last Thursday as well when we had a meeting with Stephen King. And at this stage, everything's progressing quite nicely, so I'm anticipating that will be complete before Anzac Day.
Thank you, Councillor Ulrich. Any other questions here? I just, the rubbish disposal for waste transfer facility and working group in process of being assembled. That working group, I think, was to include 2 councillors. Has anything further been done in relation to that? I mean, I just think this may be an opportunity for 2 councillors to be nominated, and if I could be so bold as to nominate Councillor O'Brien and Councillor McCoy to that if they were interested in sitting on that working committee to the tip. Someone else might want to nominate themselves or nominate, but I think there's a bit of experience there in this area. So the councillor's happy with that, and the nominees happy with it? Can we take that as a...
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Noted, and we'll get that going.
Mr. Mayor, question for the General Manager. There was, throughout the actions list, there's quite a lot of planning questions, and I know there had been some great work done at sort of beginning of last year, and we're getting on top of a lot of these, like ones that were open for 5-6 years and closing them out. That sort of, a lot of them came into a bit of a halt in October, sort of September last year. Is there sort of, I guess, indication of the new planner to have a look at these and continue those efforts towards closing these action list planning issue related items out?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, indeed. Brett Gardner, our new Senior Manager of Planning and Environment, has an awareness of these historic issues. A number have been, I understand, completed to a advanced stage in terms of draft and putting something out. So they are in the pipeline of work he needs to attend to, but and part of that is a session with the former planning manager to answer any questions. So there's an orderly transfer of knowledge from the former manager to the current manager. But yes, at one stage I did pose the question to the senior manager about with a number of amendments to the local environmental plan for these changes, and given the age of our local environmental plan, should we look at maybe going down the path of a formal plan review? But his view was that no, it would be better off just to finish this, given the advanced phase of the work, and that a review of the plan would be a lot bigger tranche of work. So it's I can't give you a definite timeline, but it's certainly an area of priority that we want to see cleared out. And it's heartening that, as you said, Councillor O'Brien, there was some good work done by the former manager, which puts us in a reasonably good shape to get this stuff out there through the process and approved, and therefore live and usable.
Great, thank you. Another one for you, Mr. General Manager, the Darjeeling footpath. I note there's another application submitted on Darjeeling. I wasn't aware that we actually were submitting. I thought we were getting together a active transport strategy prior to, and the application's closed. Am I reading that wrong, that it's the active transport strategy that we're looking for, not the application for further grant funding?
Absolutely correct, because that's I haven't got it in front of me, but we have put in a application for funding for the development of an active transport strategy, which will hopefully then inform what projects need to be prioritised to give effect to that strategy, and will then be eligible, and I think attraction to a funder to get funds for the council to do it. So that's where it's at. We haven't yet heard what our status is, but certainly the funder, when we talked about Darjeeling Path, gave strong indications to me that a funding application from this council for an active transport strategy would be favourably looked upon.
Any other questions? If not, I will move on to Item 7.5, proposed public forum rules, code of meeting practice. I'll hand over to the General Manager to introduce this.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, do we have a mover and seconder of that?
Beg pardon?
Do we have a mover and seconder of the
What do you want me
action?
to do to note it, do you?
Just
note the
council
report?
note the report, yeah.
Okay, I'll have someone to move that be noted. Councillor O'Brien, Councillor Gregg, all those in favour, it being unanimous. Okay, I'll hand over to the General Manager for item 7.5.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. You may recall that this item was on the agenda for last month, in which Councillor Gregg just raised concerns about how rigid the proposed rules were, and cited an example at Tamworth Regional Council that would be worthy of not absolutely emulating, but certainly following in that general direction of being more inclusive and perhaps a little less officious. So acknowledge the efforts of Councillor Gregg, and we have worked together just to review these rules to make them a little bit less absolute, a little bit more welcoming, and a little less officious, hopefully. So what you have before you is a suggested user-friendly set of rules, and tried to minimise how many rules there were, because the last example before you, while comprehensive, when placed through the lens of a person not overly familiar with local government practice, might be a tad intimidating. So this is designed to be enough to give the council confidence how to confidently conduct public forums, but also enough that members can quickly read, work out what's required, how they can participate, and feel like they have a really good beltway into the chamber and will have a good experience and be welcomed by the council if they do so.
Can I obviously there's a model put out by the government for this, and I just thought that maybe some of the sections in that could be added in section 8 around questions, where a councillor may ask through the chairman a question of the speaker. Questions are under no obligation to be answered. Speakers of public forums cannot ask questions of council, and the general manager or their nominee, with the concurrence of the, may address the forum. There was that one, and around conflicts of interest, managing conflicts of interest. I don't know if this makes it too onerous, but I just think that, you know, and that's more directed at councillors and the people speaking, that councillors even in there need to address their conflicts of interest. And I had 11 there, which was live streaming of public forums. And I think they can, I think if I read that correctly, they can actually live stream there. If we adopt that, they can live stream their presentation. If councillors see them as a good idea, they are out of the model, the new model of for public forums. I think we need to have that in there where a councillor can ask a question, because otherwise it's not a given that you can ask questions. And I think that's important, that a clarification question should be able to be asked by a councillor. And it's clear there that speakers cannot ask questions of councillors. So that's section 8. I don't know what councillors think of that.
Mr Mayor, is there somewhere where we can see this, or the actual detail, that we can read through it and potentially incorporate this now?
Yes, if I can work out how to send that.
It was submitted at the last meeting.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
It was in the report on the last meeting.
As I said,
I can
there's,
send it to you if you like.
How difficult is this to read?
it's pretty short, really.
Why don't we read it?
Yeah, okay, well,
Do you want me to read it, or
you're probably sick of me.
No.
It's this one,
Okay.
around questions.
If those councillors can't access their last month's agenda,
It should have been sent to you just then too.
it's been sent to
I just sent this just then.
Oh.
Yeah, no, well, if it's work.
Well, for the purpose of recording the meeting, do you want me to read?
Yeah, I think it'd be good because it's
So
on the business page.
This is the following extra sections being suggested by the Mayor. Questions, so a councillor, including the chairperson, may, through the chairperson, ask questions of a speaker. Following their address at a public forum, questions put to a speaker must be direct, succinct, and without argument. Speakers are under no obligation to answer a question put to them. Answers by the speaker to each question are to be limited to, and a number of minutes to be specified by the council. Speakers at public forums cannot ask questions of the council, councillors, or council staff. The general manager or their nominee may, with the concurrence of the chairperson, address the public forum for up to a number of minutes to be specified in response to an address at a public forum after the address and any subsequent questions and answers have been finalised. That's the question component.
Right, so the next one was...
No, one more. Where an address made at a public forum raises matters that require further consideration by council staff, the general manager may recommend that the council defer consideration of the matter pending the preparation of a further report on the matters. It's very straightforward.
The next one was 10.
10.
Managing conflicts of interest.
10. Conflict of interest. Councillors, including the Mayor, must declare and manage any conflicts of interest that they may have in relation to any item of business that is the subject of an address at a public forum, in the same way that they are required to do so at a council or committee meeting. The council is to maintain a written record of all conflict of interest declarations made at public forums and how the conflict of interest was managed by the councillor who made the declaration. Meeting.
Mr. Mayor, question for the General Manager. Just an example of how that could work. In a business paper, we're able to brief ourselves whether we have a conflict of interest. In a public forum, when a speaker starts, we may not be aware of that conflict of interest until the discussion is actually happening.
They should identify the topic they're speaking to in the business paper.
And whether they're for or against.
Yes, so if they were speaking about subdivision of the sale yard, well, you would know then that's what they're speaking about.
Okay, so for example, today we had a public member and we didn't have any sort of idea of what that was going to be about prior to the meeting. So, in an example where, the discussion's happening and it's flowing and then, well, I've got a conflict of interest, how does that get managed from a council's point of view, and how do they work out on the run whether it's a significant or non-significant? And I guess where I'm going with this is we need something there in place that if a speaker wishes to speak, they need to put a brief to council and to the general manager, and that needs to be relayed to the councillors. So we have prior warning of if there's potential conflict of interest.
The general proposed format for how this works, and bear in mind the presentation in a public forum today was conducted on the old rules under the 2023 Code of Meeting Practice, because these new rules have yet to be adopted, but they would identify their name and their topic of interest prior to the council meeting so that councillors can be alerted. And I think it's about 36 hours or something before this was allowed. It was late notification of the wish to speak, received I think 3 p.m. yesterday, was it, Liz? And only confirmation that the person who spoke was going to be that representative for that organisation. That only occurred early this afternoon. So under our proposed method, there is a notice period.
A day before.
Sorry?
The day before.
The day before. And certainly Tamworth also have an online provision, which I think is very good, which you just register your interest in speaking, name, not rank and serial number, but certainly proposed topic. And then I think all councillors can be aware, okay, we've got a public forum, we've got a speaker, and the topic is X, and therefore that potentially could invalidate me out of the discussion. Yep.
If we're going to push for public forums, should we change our agenda by resolution to bring our declarations of interest to be point 2 before
Public forums.
Before public forums?
Yes, we've had this situation before, Mr. Mayor, and sometimes it's out of order, and I've had to say at the beginning of the meeting, can I declare the conflict of interest at the beginning of the meeting rather than point 3 or whatever?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got to change our agenda by resolution, but maybe that's something you come back to us next time to put it once the meeting's open.
Just a question, Mr Mayor. When you're actually at a forum, or where someone's actually speaking in a public forum, I'm just not sure where a conflict of interest would arise.
Maybe if somebody's spouse was speaking on a subject that was to both of them. You know, I don't know, I'm running off the top of my head, but maybe in that situation, because the public forum is there to try and influence council. So whatever they're speaking on, if that person has a conflict of interest in anything in the business paper and that's what they're speaking on, I would imagine that's when a conflict would come up.
Yeah, but that's not the time when the decision is being made. So, okay, you can listen to someone trying to convince you that you're black as white, but no decision is being made at that time. And then when the decision process is taking place at the business, then obviously the conflict of interest is there. And the person's heard the presentation isn't in any position to influence the debate. So I'm just not sure just where a conflict of interest really will occur in a public forum.
But see, on that, a conflict of interest occurs in a workshop, and that's not a decision-making place either.
Maybe the conflict of interest occurs if you raise a question to that person. But, I mean, either way, the forum is now within the meeting, so the conflict of interest rule doesn't need to be repeated for this forum rules. So I don't think the conflict of interest point needs to be included in the forum policy because we are in a general meeting. So if you've got a conflict of interest, you have to declare it, whether or not you're in a forum.
Yes, all right. So sorry, Councillor Gregg, you're saying that I think the conflict of interest for a meeting only applies to councillors and staff. It doesn't apply to speakers. So that's why it's put in a separate place for the forum, is that they are neither councillors nor staff.
So how could a forum speaker, a member of the public, have a conflict of interest in anything? They're not voting on it. They're just putting forward, well, they do have an interest. So I don't see how they could have a conflict of interest.
Staff don't vote either, but they have a conflict of interest because they are trying to influence, they could try and influence councillors. I don't know. It must be in the model code for some reason. You know, and I don't see any problem. It's only 2 lines in just including it. Because, look, I can't answer all the questions, but I just think it's got to be there for a reason. And, you know.
Sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but who has to declare the conflict of interest? The councillors or
No, this is a speaker.
Sorry, Mr.
Sorry.
Mayor, this point 10 here doesn't talk about the speaker, it talks specifically about councillors.
Oh, right, sorry, I handed mine over.
Councillors, including the mayor, must declare and manage any conflicts of interest they may have in relation to any item of business that is subject to an address of the public forum.
So Councillor Gregg could well be right there. It's covered by there, but it's just...
So if you bring your agenda, your conflict of interest forward to the beginning of the meeting,
yep,
and then you have the public forum after it, as you say, we don't need to include this in the forum topics. We treat conflict of interest as we do. The issue is that we need to be briefed on what the forum is going to be speaking about so we can work out whether we have a conflict of interest or not.
So when the speaker registers, they have to say what point they're speaking on and whether they're for or against it. So
yes,
that probably covers it, does it?
Yeah, so they might just describe what they're going to talk about. We can make a decision whether we have it. And then during the forum, if something is brought up that is, at that point in time, a conflict of interest, sorry, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairperson, I've got to walk out of the room.
So again, do you have a conflict of interest if you just, as Councillor McCoy said, just listening to it? You're not voting or doing anything, so do you have a conflict of interest?
You might not be privy to a conversation, a forum, and a development application comes up that's something to do with your land, and you weren't privy to that in the briefing of the forum. But then as the speaker is talking about it, it comes up and you're like, that's my block of land. I've got to go out of the room.
Yeah, and you're in a council meeting, so it's probably covered.
I agree with Steve or with Councillor McCoy. you're not voting on it anyway. I mean, you would read about it in the business paper to know whether you had a conflict of interest. And then you exclude yourself.
I'm in my open can of worms. I'm happy to drop it out of there. I do think that actually under the model code, the code of local government act, if somebody has a conflict of interest in an item, they shouldn't get it in the business paper. That's how far that goes. I think that's the way it reads. And I don't know how you know about that till the business paper's printed, but we're doing what we can do here. I'm happy to drop that one out. The other was just around live streaming, and I think that somebody can live stream in. Is that what anyone else took out of that?
So again, with that, if it's in a council meeting, can't they live stream, request for it live streaming like councillors can? But you mean they can live stream in, they can be at home?
They can present to council over video.
Maybe it's just a word being entered in, is it?
I think it's more, Mr Mayor, that the participants in the public forum are on notice that you are being live streamed.
Right.
It's not a private audience with the council. It is a public forum and it will be recorded. And I think it's good for participants to know that in advance in terms of our rules of engagement.
So that would put in 8 and 11 and leave 10 out.
And through you, Mr Mayor, I do wonder whether, given the strong desire for notification of someone wanting to participate in the public forum, who they are, the topic of interest and their stance, whether our notice provisions are a little bit generous to the participants and harsh on the councillors. And I wonder whether we should have 48 hours notice or something like that rather than just 1 day. Because by the time we get it and alert you to this is our intended participants and the topics to be covered, it's up to you, but sometimes the notice could be quite tight. You're busy people. By the time we get it and it's inside 24 hours of your meeting the following day, you may not get to it. Just wondering.
Mr Mayor, General Manager through the Mayor. I think less time the better for notification, because we sort of release the documents on a Friday. People are making up their mind Saturday, Sunday. By the time they finally decide they want to do something, it's Tuesday. And, we've had a lot of situations where people are applying last minute to talk at a public forum. And I think they should be given that right to do it. And, it's such a tight time frame anyway. We shouldn't exclude people due to time.
I think our old one was 5 days, and I think that's it.
Which was possibly before the business paper came out, I'm guessing.
Well, that's the problem. Yeah, I get that. 10-8, we have a recommendation there. Do we want to amend it? I'd like it amended that sections 8 and 11 go in so that they understand they're being recorded and around, they understand that they can be asked a question. They do not have to answer it. Okay, all those in favour? So that be added to the recommendation, the amendment. We didn't have a mover, so
I moved it.
yeah, Councillor O'Brien moved it, Councillor Gregg seconded it with that amendment.
Yep.
Does anybody wish to speak forward or be around enough or against it? Councillor McCoy?
Yeah, I don't want to speak against it, but I just want to raise a point. I'm concerned about dot point 3 in our recommendations, and it's not just this one, it's a number, quite a lot that come to us. And it's if no submissions are received, adopt the amended code of meeting practice. I have some concerns about the legality of doing that, in as much that we aren't really setting a date when this particular policy is actually adopted. We're allowing it to go off to be advertised for 28 days, inviting public submissions. So it might sit on somebody's desk for a week or two, waiting to be sent out for public submissions. We might go 28 days and then a few weeks later, the officer might say, oh yes, we haven't got any public submissions, so let's adopt it. It's not so important with this particular policy, but for a policy that might be, for argument's sake, going to fine somebody $50,000 if they don't comply, how do we go legally saying, well, yeah, we did adopt it, but we're not sure when it was adopted. There's no date on it. There's no actual specific time when this policy actually applies for. So I think it's dangerous to have point 3 in any of our recommendations. An alternative may be that we specify a date within our recommendations as to be effective if there aren't any submissions received. So in other words, the policy to become effective on the 1st of April, assuming that no submissions received, or the 1st of May or whatever. So we give ourselves 6 or 8 weeks to go through the public submission process. And if nothing's received, the policy becomes effective as of a date that we've actually specified, rather than leaving it up to some arbitrary, not arbitrary, but we don't know when it's going to be actually becoming enforceable.
Thank you, Councillor McKay. That's just a comment, I guess, and underpins that.
Well, can I amend the policy and basically say that
Can the General Manager just make a comment?
Yeah, he can. Thank you.
So I can make a suggestion through you, Mr Mayor. And look, it's probably in line with the practice that I've used elsewhere. I would just delete point 3, and then we will come back to you with either a report saying here are the submissions, or no submissions received, and invite you to adopt it with a certain date.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's the cleanest way of doing it. I just didn't want to put the staff to extra trouble writing a report, but I guess it's only going to be a 2-liner. Thank you.
There's a mover and second to happen for that point to be pulled out of that motion. Can we get a vote on that? All those in favour? Unanimous. Item 7.6, Community Membership, Tourism and Arts Advisory Committee, General Manager. I guess there's a simple question there. Council's determination, do we want to go out for another spot on the Tourism and Arts Advisory Committee? Councillor Euston.
Through you, Mr Mayor, when does that, when do we go out for these? Is this every term or every 2 years, or?
I think it's every 2 years. Committees are filled, is that right?
I would say every term, sorry.
Could be right.
Yeah, only because, you know, that committee had 17 people on the invite list and 12 in attendance last time. Seems to be reasonably well oversubscribed anyway. And if it's getting re-stacked in the next 4 months, would there be any point going for another person?
So we have do we have a motion that we leave it as it is with the vacancy? Do I have a seconder for that?
Can I suggest
Yes.
that council reduce the community representatives to 7 and change the terms of reference to reflect this for
Yes.
the Tourism and Arts Advisory Committee?
That's the correct motion.
Yes,
Lisa's right. It's every 4 years.
it is. Yeah. So we're happy with that resolution?
Well, that changes it now that it's every 4 years. I think it probably, I just think for this remaining term, if it was only 2 years, then that's different.
It still fits. It's still a big committee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have no doubt about it. That's the only reason I brought it up.
Were there community members that nominated that weren't invited onto the committee?
No, I think we put everyone on.
That's correct, Mr Mayor.
There weren't any.
No, we had a full house. Like I think everybody got on.
Yeah, they
No,
did.
they didn't.
They did.
So does somebody want to move? I'll move that we do not do it then, unless you don't want to, Councillor Euston. I'm happy to move that what Liz read out.
The council reduced the community representatives to 7 and change the terms of reference to reflect, on the Tourism and Arts Advisory Committee. Sorry.
Have a second about that? Councillor Euston. I don't wish to speak for it. Councillor Euston, do you? No. Any council wish to speak against reducing that? Councillor McCoy?
Just to ask a question, would it be nice if we could be given a copy of the terms of reference for all our advisory committees? I've never seen them in my 2 years of being here. I asked the previous general manager to provide them. And can I just put that into the question on notice business, that we get a copy of the terms of reference, because I don't know what these committees do.
Thank you, Councillor McCoy. Do we have anybody who does wish to speak against it? Anybody wish to speak for or therefore put to the vote? All those in favour? That being unanimous. Items, we moved to notices of motion now. Do we want a 5-minute break because we didn't get much of a break? Or, you know, we go to say 4:30. We didn't get much of a break from our session to now. Quick 5-minute break, drink, whatever. Reassemble at 5:30.
4:30.
4:30, sorry.
See you down the pub.
That's where I was going.
Oh, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. It's not just time opinion. I vote it's just all the members of the thinking. But we don't, we can take our time. No, I do, I just. Yeah, at the moment. Yeah, well, I mean, with that, I understand the symbols that we should stay in public, but we signed up for confidential.
I just need council.
The live stream's still going.
I've paused the recording, but I can't pause the live stream. So everyone should be aware that the live stream is still valid because I can't pause it. Oh, okay. I pause it, I have to stop it and start again. So just be aware of that.
There's no sound?
So the audio recording is off.
No,
Pause, sorry.
Pause, yeah, that's right.
And I will be back shortly. Yeah, I didn't get one before.
I made a lot of notes, but I'm not
There you go. That's good.
It's we're entitled to say, we don't take the money, we won't get it. And we need to investigate all this. Check, mate. We only still have 400 and get around to it. And then there's a little bit of but they did fund
The thing is, that's what we've got. Like we only, we don't have this $2 million, $3 million.
No. And the caveat was that it's confidential.
Not the recording, the video.
Video, not the sound. So you're
Finding what I think, yeah.
No, so her point was, if you take the money and you keep it confidential, you're taking it right. Well, I disagree, but if you take the money and we can request that the agreement be covered to kill and retain the right. And secondly, we can certainly request that once we negotiate the agreement with third party, that it be fully public. Because I think it will satisfy the public. These are the cautions that we've got for the upgrade of the roads. Oh, I know. I mean, most people look at the third party agreement and get to one of the
It's not mine.
Good to go again.
Council resumes open session of council at 4:32 p.m. We'll now move on to notices of motion, section 8, citizenship ceremony of Australia for Australia Day. Councillor Gregg, do you wish to introduce your motion, please?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is probably not really a policy as such. It's more just setting a norm for the citizenship ceremony to be held on Australia Day, just so it can be celebrated by the whole community on Australia Day, if that's what the new citizen chooses to do.
Do you wish to move your recommendation, your notice of motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, have you said enough to it now, or do you wish to speak to it more? If not, I'll call for a seconder.
If the person chooses to have a private ceremony or they have family coming on a different date, they can nominate to change. But I guess, normal situation would be that if you were becoming a new citizen, that it would be celebrated on Australia Day.
Do you have a second of that? Councillor McCoy? Councillor McCoy, do you wish to speak to it?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I was the chair of the Australia Day Committee for many years in the past, and I know we used to struggle to find things to do on the day. And the one thing that sort of stands out in my memory was when we did have a citizenship award or citizenship ceremony at the Australia Day, and it was actually a very well received and an excellent morning. So I think this is a great idea, and it would certainly help those organising the day to pad out the day so that it made it a little more interesting for everyone to go along, as long as we don't have to sit in the sun.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak against that or ask a question? Councillor Pointing.
Thank you, Councillor Gregg, for putting this notice of motion out. I just had a question around, like if there actually had to be a policy and like just through the general manager, because I guess anyone can decide to become an Australian citizenship on any day of the year. So I was just wondering what the benefits to council or council staff would be to actually have, a formal policy around this. Like, it's my question.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I mean, there's no real benefit from a council staff point of view. New citizens are awarded their citizenship during the course of the year, and they then make arrangements for a suitable ceremony with the local council. I guess this policy from a new citizen's point of view does give a new citizen the opportunity to have that citizenship bestowed on a grander stage than what the council would normally provide. A lot of these citizenship ceremonies are fairly low key, often very private affairs involving the mayor and a select few, and obviously family and friends. And as they alluded to in the managerial comments, there will be, and I think Councillor Gregg's comments, there will be times where some people, through the urgency of wanting to have the citizenship recognised with coordinating family or friends, or the need for privacy and discomfort around appearing on as a star player on a big stage, would prefer to do it in a more intimate setting. But this does give the council and the citizen the opportunity to recognise the occasion on a bigger stage with lots of people who are not time pressured on a public holiday, to recognise their achievement and to give them a warm Aussie welcome.
I agree that a policy is a bit over the top for it, but I think it just brings it back to the norm. I think over the years we've sort of been moving away from having it on Australia Day, and it's just, oh, well, when do you want to have your citizenship ceremony? We'll have it then. Whereas I'd like to see it that, we'd love to celebrate your citizenship ceremony on Australia Day. If you wanted another day, that's fine. But, the starting point would be Australia Day.
Council wish to speak for then? Or against? I've conducted a few of these over the last nearly 10 years. I'm a little bit against it for a few reasons. One is this is already covered in the Act. There is an Act for becoming a citizen. It's all covered in there that, you know, Australia Day is a preferred day. People get a copy of that Act, I think, and read it. They know it's then. A lot of people don't want it. They don't want to be in that situation. They want to be a private thing. And it worries me that if we have a policy with that, they will feel that they should do it on Australia Day when they don't want to. Most of the ones I've conducted are held in here just with family. And there are certain benefits that it can take up to 2 years to get your citizenship worked out with the government. And, you know, if that comes in March, then, you know, you wish to vote in an election in November, you can't do it if you wait till Australia Day. I just think that the option's there for people to have it whenever they want it. There's 2 other days that are listed there, Harmony Day and whatever the other day is. What is it? Citizenship Day. There are options there. It's all explained in the Act when they want to do it. And I just think that this puts pressure on people if we have a policy that we are really stepping into an area that I don't think is really our realm. Yes.
So the policy actually says, now I can't, oh, here we go, that alternate ceremony dates may be available for individuals who prefer a private or family ceremony. So it actually spells it out very clearly and, you know, gives them that option. The reason I brought it up was just, and I wasn't going to, you know, bring the personal side into it, but I spoke to somebody who did have a citizenship ceremony and they weren't offered the Australia Day option and they were disappointed. And I was really disappointed because I thought, wouldn't it have been great to celebrate that on Australia Day? So I think it's just bringing council, staff, everyone along that, you know, Australia Day is the best day to do it, unless the citizen wants something different, and then what they want is the best way to do it. And I think that policy covers that.
Yeah, I think that there were circumstances around that led to, you know, you've got to have certain things issued and it wasn't ready for Australia Day. But I still think all of this is in place now. Why do we want another policy within council? We are really saying what's already out there. They have that option of every other day of the year. They have the option of Australia Day. They have to be on I've only done 2 of them on Australia Day in front of people. But anyway, that's my opinion on it. Anybody else wish to speak for or against it? I will therefore put to the vote all those in favour. That's Councillors O'Brien, Ulrich, Houston, Thompson, McCoy, Gregg. All those against? Pointing and notes. Carried. We have a... Oh, wait a minute. Down a page, sorry. Notice of motion, Councillor McCoy, 8.2. Do you wish to introduce your motion, Councillor McCoy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It spells out in the report, just as I guess an opportunity for council to review their meeting time or their start meeting time. Over the last few meetings, we've struggled to get our meeting finished in the I guess the nominated 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock session. We've gone longer, both in November and December, and then we went extremely longer in February. But I acknowledge that February was a little bit of an exception, given that we hadn't had a meeting for quite a while. I just feel that it's important that councillors are provided with sufficient time to, I guess, consider all the things that they need to consider when making a decision. I personally have sort of felt myself being rushed, particularly towards the end of a meeting, when important decisions are often being made regarding the closed meeting, in a closed meeting. So I just sort of feel that there's a need for some extra time to take the pressure off us. I've noted that we no longer have our pre-briefing sessions, which we used to have before the Code of Meeting Practice was changed at the beginning of this year. I also note that the General Manager has made some changes to the format of the business paper and reduced the number of reports coming through, management review reports coming through. So that's certainly going to have some, will certainly help with reducing the amount of time spent. I also note that I'm one of the culprits in terms of making the meeting go a lot longer than it should, but I'm not making any apologies for that. I just feel that we need a bit more time to work through it. And the reason I've sort of chosen 1:30, it's after lunch. It's gives us the time to have a break. It removes the temptation to push through, which is sort of what happened last month. When we get to a certain time, we think we've got to keep going. We can't stop now. So it gives us that bit of extra time to think about it. And as I said in the report, I just feel it's such an important time for councillors, all councillors, to be able to demonstrate their involvement and their decision-making and why they're making the decisions they're making in an open, live-streamed meeting.
Thank you, Councillor McCoy. Do you wish to move that while you're there?
I shall move that.
Do I have a seconder of that motion? Councillor Gregg. Councillor Gregg, a second of it. Do you wish to speak to it?
I agree and support what Councillor McCoy has said. I also think we tend to be quite rushed. And I also think it's only for this term of council that we're making the decision. So it depends on the other councillors, I guess, but I believe that 1:30 would probably suit all the councillors in this group. So I also think fitting in the council meeting before 5 o'clock is beneficial for staff who need to be here. I think it's reasonable for them to be able to finish work at 5 o'clock if we can accommodate that for the meeting. So I support Councillor McCoy's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Gregg. Do you have a councillor who wishes to speak against it or ask a question? Councillor O'Brien.
Yeah, I'll speak for it. Only thing that I would just ask if we could get some updated calendar invites to reflect this if it gets passed through, just to reflect our schedule for the next while. Thank you.
Any other councillor wish to speak for or against it? Councillor Houston.
I'd just like to ask a question through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. Are all staff attending these salaried anyway? So it doesn't really make any difference how long we go.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, all staff who attend the council meetings would be salaried, yes. And if they might take some time off in lieu if there was an extended session in the evening.
Thank you. I'm not going to speak for or against. I'm just going to make the comment that a lot of the community would prefer that these meetings be moved to after hours anyway so they can attend. So it would be a consideration for councillors when they're voting on this.
Any other councillor wish to speak for or against it? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of Councillor McCoy's motion. We've got councillors O'Brien, Ulrich, Thompson, McCoy, Gregg, Noakes, all those against, Pointing and Houston. Motion carried. We'll move on to no matters of urgency, committee reports, minutes of the Walcha Tourism Arts Advisory Committee meeting. There's a recommendation there that council approve the revised temporary location of the John Petrie sculpture beside the butcher shop in Fitzroy Street. Do I have a mover of that? Councillor Gregg, you were there? Yes, Councillor Gregg, a seconder of that? I'll move that. I was there. I'll second that. Do you wish to speak for it, Councillor Gregg?
No, thank you.
Anybody wish to speak against it?
I just want to ask a question, if I may, Mr Mayor. Exactly where, beside the butcher, does that mean is it still on the footpath? Or
Yes,
is it on
near the
somewhere?
garden.
It's
You
actually
know
on-
that square garden there?
Okay.
So it doesn't impede it. I think that was right, wasn't it? That's where it's going.
So it stays on the foot. It's not going on. Yeah, I saw the might have been
No,
going
just next to the garden. So it's,
Okay.
I'm not sure of the reason for it, but there was a reason. Anybody else wish to ask, any other councillor wish to ask a question? Councillor Pointing?
Yes, Mr Mayor, just around the cultural gifts program. I said there was a question there, the funding going in. But I do remember speaking with Councillor Gregg before the meeting, and probably just for clarification for myself, I did see, like in the September quarterly budget review, there wasn't any budget allocation at that point, but in the December one, you know, this is what I understand anyway, in the restrictions summary, I can see the budget transfer in of $6,000. So I would be assuming that would be answering that query there. And then, but I guess the other question is, I vaguely do recall that it was $5,000 too. And I mean, in here, we've got $6,000. So I'm just not sure, you know, I'd like clarification on that so I know, I think I know what I'm talking about.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Catherine's all over this. Our finance manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, through the General Manager. Councillor, I have had a look at that, and there looks to be a bit of a discrepancy in the September quarter budget review. In one report says that there's been money transferred in, and another section says it hasn't. So I do need to get to the bottom of that one for you. But I have found the donation from Elizabeth Spring, and I will make sure that is in future in the restricted funds. Currently, it's not there because I was unaware of it. But I will make sure that is fixed and restricted for future use in the arts area. So the $6,000 that is currently there is a carryover of a $5,000 budget not used in previous years, plus a donation of $1,000 from, I can't think of the person's name, but that was a previous year donation as well. And that's carrying forward.
Thank you for the clarification.
Mrs. Spring was the lady, I think, that made the donation.
The 5,000, yes.
So there is another recommendation there on page 84, but it's been withdrawn.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question, probably actually more of a comment just to bring to the General Manager's attention on page 83. One of the initiatives of the business group in Walcha, and also now it looks like it's on this paper, is a business concierge service. Now it's an initiative that we've been discussing as a way forward for businesses in town to have a point of contact at council to answer questions, and basically a council, we're open for business. Come to us if you've got any concerns. I know it's tough for businesses wanting to open their doors in this town, especially if they need approvals or to navigate that whole planning process. And I think if we can provide some initiatives or some advertising or communication from council's behalf that we're open for business, and we've got to, ask the front desk for the business concierge, and they'll direct you in the appropriate people. So nothing more than that, just to bring it to your attention as an initiative, if we could work on that in the background.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Bryan, you must be telepathic, because I was having that very conversation with our new senior strategic planning manager and environment, and with Mr. Dyer only a matter of 4 hours ago.
Thank you.
Excuse
Okay.
me,
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, do we need to vote on that recommendation to council to move the sculpture?
Didn't I?
We didn't vote on it.
Oh, all those in favour of the recommendation?
Thank you.
That'd be unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Greig. Okay, move on to the Walcha Motorcycle Rally Committee meeting, extraordinary meeting. Councillors Ulrich or O'Brien, anything you wish to highlight in there?
Mr. Mayor, I just, look, it was a great meeting to sort of wrap things up. I guess there was no real outcome or expression from any individual in there other than the Oxley riders that we're going to take it on notice back to their committee as a potential organisation to take on the motorcycle rally going forward. There were some potential other strategies that were discussed, potentially having 4 events versus 1 event. At the end of the day, it was sort of made clear that it's up to any organisation within the Walcha community to take this on. It's just in the best interest of council, how that is taken on, and if any of the IP or anything is handed over, it's done as the best interest. There's a lot of synergies with the exit strategy. I know our resolution from the meeting wasn't quite clear. I guess, it's a document that we have invested money into to follow there, and there is some good recommendations in that if we decide to hand it over. But unless Councillor Ulrich wants to add anything else, that was probably my recollection of the meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Councillor O'Brien. As I said, I think there was some appetite maybe within some of the committee members to hopefully potentially run the event in 2027, but that hasn't materialised as yet.
Any other councillor wish to ask a question or anything in relation to that report? Councillor Euston.
Through you, Mr Mayor, probably to councillors Ulrich and O'Brien. What were the factual errors in the report that suggested that they're there from the committee members confirmed they'd read the General Manager's report, but there were factual errors in it?
Sorry, can you bring me up to speed, Councillor?
So on page 87, committee members confirmed they had read the General Manager's report tabled to the February committee and that there were some factual errors in the report. There's nothing listed in the rest of the report, that's why I'm asking.
I'll have to take that on notice.
Okay, I guess we get to do it ourselves sometimes.
Any other questions? If not, I'll have a move that those reports be adopted. Councillor Ulrich, Councillor Ponting, all those in favour being unanimous. There have been no delegate reports this month. We have a question on notice, but I believe that's been answered. Councillor McCoy, to your satisfaction, is it?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Mr Mayor, I've got a question without notice.
Oh, yes.
Yes, it's probably just a clarification. As myself, the last meeting in relation to the business paper, I declared a couple of conflicts of interest in relation to being a committee member of the motorcycle rally and an in-kind sponsor, and also a member of the Era Club. There was two topics of business. I believe when I sent through the email, I may have missed a key word that I had a non-pecuniary interest rather than a pecuniary interest. So non-pecuniary, non-significant for both the RAF business paper discussion and the motorcycle rally discussion.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien.
In fact, if you just clarified that I had recorded that the correct way in the business paper, yeah, in the meeting minutes.
Thank you. Item 13.1, referral to closed.
Mr Mayor, could I?
Sorry, Councillor McCoy.
I ask a question without notice? The recording of closed committee meetings, can that be achieved so that we don't have issues with remembering what we did and what we didn't do? I mean, I know it's a recording, but is there any reason why that recording can't just simply be made for the basis of taking minutes?
Through you, Mr Mayor, so you asked just on, I understand your question. Your question is, can we retain a recording of discussion held in closed council for the record? And if downstream events dictates that it can actually be put into public arena, that's a possibility as well. Is that the essence of the question?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Well, my understanding is we should be recording the discussions in closed council meetings, and because there's no reason why you wouldn't. And secondly, if there's any issue around clarity of what was discussed or what was intended, etc., you've got an audio available. So that should be occurring, but I might need to confer with our resident IT expert as to what the current state of play is.
Can I suggest that be taken as a question on notice and answered later, because it is that could have legal things, I don't know, but if you're happy with that, Councillor McCoy, that's got back to us.
And the final one, we failed to have a Capital Review Committee meeting again this month. I'm just wondering when we're going to start having the meetings that council would like to have.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's correct. And the capital projects report that we put into this council was an interim, if you like, pending a proper capital review committee meeting, which is intended to take place in the middle of next month during the what we call the workshop / CRC kind of session. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we move into closed council. I have a recommendation that council, in accordance with provisions of section 10A 2DI of the Local Government Act 1993, the matter of Energy Co. letter of agreement be referred to be discussed in closed council for the reason that the report relates to commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. 2, section 10A 2G of the Local Government Act 1993, the matter of energy third-party agreement be referred to be discussed in closed council for the reason that the report relates to advice concerning litigation or advice that would otherwise be privileged from production in legal proceedings on the ground of legal professional privilege. 3, that council resolve into closed council and press and public be excluded. Can I have a mover of that recommendation, please?
Mr Mayor, can I just ask a governance question, please? So for the first part, the matter of Energy Co. letter of agreement be referred because it has commercial information of a confidential nature. It does have a confidentiality clause, so I understand we can't discuss it in open council, but there's nothing confidential in that agreement. It's all been shared by Energy Co. on their website. So I don't believe there's anything confidential in it. And I don't think there are any other grounds that should be discussed in closed council. There's a lot of public interest in it. And I don't think a confidentiality clause gives us grounds to, I guess, go against the Local Government Act.
Do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The issue is essentially, as Councillor Gregg has averred, it is the issue of a confidentiality clause and whether that demands or warrants that the council respect that clause and conduct its discussion in closed council. There is a further provision in the Local Government Act, and that is section 10A2E, which is that information that would, if disclosed, prejudice the maintenance of the law. And it can be argued that knowingly ignoring an obligation of confidentiality in conducting a discussion in public setting may undermine the maintenance of the law, where the sanctity of agreements and contracts need to be respected. That is the only issue that is before here. I completely concur that the contents of the agreement have largely been divulged into the public domain, and it's a question that the council needs to grapple with.
Can I suggest that we defer this and confer with Energy Co. as to whether we really need a confidentiality clause, given there is nothing confidential in the agreement, and then it can be discussed in open council where I believe it should be discussed.
Can I just have clarification here, deferring both? No, okay.
Just the first one.
You can move an amendment or a motion to that effect if you wish to.
Can I move a motion to defer the first point till after clarification with Energy Co. as to whether we need that confidentiality clause?
Is there a seconder of that?
Can I ask
Councillor
a question to
Grant?
Councillor Gregg?
Yes, certainly.
Councillor Gregg, I tend to agree that it's in the interest of the broader community that we need to discuss this publicly. I understand the predicament we're in legally. I'm also, keen to move on with this as well. As a solution here, I don't know, I just wanted to understand your thoughts. If this was discussed, but in parallel seeking clarification from Energy Co, and if they were happy to have it publicly released then we pull it from closed council into the public arena afterwards.
I guess that's not giving the community a chance to have any participation in this. If we discuss it, well, I think that it's a governance issue as well. Can we legally go into closed council? I don't really agree that, and I know that our general manager is much more learned than myself and has, you know, the legal background, but I think we're on shaky ground going into closed council, especially when there is so much public interest.
Do I have any other councillor who wishes to, well, I haven't got a second yet, so I don't really have a motion. Can I have a seconder for that if anybody wishes to second it?
I'd be happy to second it, Mr Mayor.
Councillor McCoy, thank you. Now have a motion. Councillor McCoy, do you wish to speak to that as soon as you seconded it?
Yeah, I think that the preferred way I can see is that we do defer it. I don't believe there's any sense of urgency to deal with it. And I think it's quite appropriate that it's not confidential in any way, shape or form. Just because you stick a clause in an agreement and saying it's confidential shouldn't basically bind the council. We've got to follow our own Local Government Act, and I don't believe it complies with the Local Government Act's requirements for closing. Thank you.
Do I have a councillor who wishes to speak against that? Do I have any other councillor who wishes to speak for that?
I'd just like to respond one more to Councillor O'Brien. I agree. I would like to discuss this today. I think there's no matter of urgency, but we do need to talk about it. But I don't think that's a reason to discuss it in closed council. I think it needs to be done properly.
Oh, sorry, I thought someone was going to say something. Okay, so just for clarification, Councillor Gregg, you are deferring what? I guess didn't mean to sound rude, but what do you wish to defer?
Deferring discussing the agreement, the letter of agreement in closed council.
You just wish to defer item 3.1? I'm just clarifying that for the...
You must be looking at the closed paper. Item 3.1, yes.
Yes, okay. So we have a motion there. Does anybody wish to speak for or against it? You don't wish to sum up at all, Councillor Gregg? I will therefore put that recommendation to vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor O'Brien, Ulrich, Euston, Thompson, McCoy and Gregg. Against? Councillors Noakes and Pointing. That will be deferred. So we still have for council to resolve into closed council and public and press be excluded for item 2. Can I have a mover of that, please? Councillor Ulrich, Councillor O'Brien. All those in favour? We now move into closed council and thank our gallery for today and thanks for turning up and come again next time. Thank you.